Today, I am excited to welcome Aleksandr Ptitsyn, a visionary leader and HR strategist with over 2 decades of experience in building high-performing teams and driving organizational transformation across industry like fintech, HR tech, e-commerce, and logistics. Aleksandr journey spans more than 15 years of international HR leadership, helping companies scale and thrive in dynamic markets across EMEA, ASEAN, and MENA regions. Aleksandr is the founder of ReVacancy, an AI-powered platform designed to simplify the job search process and connect top IT and digital talent with employees worldwide. In his career, he has built HR teams from scratch, transforming them into operational powerhouses that support thousands of employees across multiple regions. His innovative approaches to HR analytics, total rewards strategies, and talent acquisition have earned him accolades, including being named one of the Asia's 40 under 40 HR leaders. Previously, Aleksandr served as Chief People Officer at Momo, Vietnam's leading super app, where he led a team of 40 plus HR professionals and rolled out transformative initiatives like fully digital onboarding, advanced HR analytics dashboards, and organizational development programs. Aleksandr's passion for fostering a culture of excellence and inclusivity is evident in his ability to turn challenges into opportunities. In this episode, we will explore Alexander's unique insights on scale teams, using technology to enhance HR practice, and building resilient organizations in today's fast-changing world. We very welcome Alex.
Thank you for having me. This is a quite grandiose introduction. I feel humbled. Yeah, there are a lot of things, right?
Yes, you have done really a lot. Is outstanding your work, which I could also witness. And thank you very much for joining us today and accepting our invitation.
Thank you.
Tell me, Alex, how has technology impacted your life personally?
Well, I think that I was born by a family of Soviet engineer and accountant, and I think technology was surrounding me since the birth. I was born in 1986, and basically in my younger years, I have basically lived through the collapse of one of the biggest countries on the planet, USSR. And USSR was very famous for engineering talent. The whole country was prideful about its engineering capability. And my father was a huge fan of technology. We had the Atari console, I think since 89. I think that in my whole city, there were probably 100 people who had similar console. It's basically a keyboard terminal that you connect to your TV, and then you can use it to write basic programs and run games, software. Back then, people just try to do anything possible, and me being like 3 years, 4 years, 5 years old kid, it was some miracle, because if we compare back then TV and computers, the difference was massive. It was completely different class of entertainment. I still remember how my dad was launching games using 8-inch floppy disks, like huge plastic disks. And you had to write a lot of commands to make things work. It's not like you just, like in modern times, like double click an icon and things launch. You had to write execution program that it will execute the launch of the software. And yeah, I have seen the keyboard. And like I was born in Soviet Union, meaning that alphabet was in Russian, but it was also my first exposure to English language, because the keyboard had only English letters. So I learned English alphabet probably earlier than I fully learned the Russian alphabet. And yeah, I played early games like River Raid. I still remember like Pitfall, those games created by Activision. Back then it was a very small company, and nowadays it's like one of the most valuable game development companies that Microsoft acquired for $2 billion just recently. And what to say? I think that I always wanted to be a software developer or do hardware because from the beginning I didn't see big difference. I think that it was impossible to do anything with computer if you didn't understand hardware and software, both of those. I started to, of course, I tinkered with hardware with my dad with um, 486 architecture, and I was assembling PC when we got our first personal computer. Intel Pentium 100 and 166 MMX, like early personal computers. I was assembling all the stuff and like using DOS and Windows and stuff. So I tried to write code at the age of 11, 12. It was Pascal. But back then, like my hometown was quite small. It's just 100,000 people. Engineering city over the polar circle, like 10 months winter, minus 45 degrees in winter. And you don't spend a lot of time outside. It's really it's really cold. So most kids they have to find hobbies that you can do indoor, and my hobbies were software and hardware. So I tried to learn software, but there was not many teachers who could code, and most of the teaching was literally books. So there is theory, you follow the book, you write the code, you write simple executable math uh, programs, just basically math. That's it. And it wasn't really exciting for me because I have seen like all the games, right? Like how the operating systems evolved, like Norton Commander for DOS, how you can interact with user interface, and it was exciting for me. I wanted that stuff. So I lost passion for software, and I went into the hardware. So I started working when I was 16 in the computer store, and basically full time. I had agreement with my college that I can spend majority of my time working full time, and this was my basically university where back then in computer shops all staff they were like basically selling and maintaining hardware, but all of them had hobbies related to computers. So we had designers working there, we had music creators, future producers. I had the guy who now is one quite famous texture developer for games, but back then he was just playing with Corel Draw and Photoshop and so on. So it was the early age, and we could try anything, and nothing was impossible. It was so cool that you can create things just from thin air. You have the software, you have the computer, and you can become artist. You can be engineer. You can learn languages, and you can chat with people half across the globe. It would take you tens of $1,000s on airline ticket to talk with them in real person, but you can chat with them using IRC and all kind of cool technologies. So I think that, like, I would say that my life and technology is inseparable. And people often ask me when I interview for companies or I provide consulting services for companies, the companies from real sector ask me like, Alex, you have like majority of your experiences with tech, but we are not tech company. How can you provide the value? And I explain to them that like long-term future, all companies will have a lot of processes systems in technology. And companies that do not utilize technology, they basically will fall behind because they're going to be slower, more costly, and the innovative edge will not be as valuable as those that use technology. So I would say that technology is a multiplier of your product, services, and the things that you do, both personally, professionally, as a business owner or as an employee. If we want to excel at what we do, we need technology.
Yes, thank you. You brought a lot for us to think about it. And I agree with you that technology somehow has become the infrastructure for business today. What are your thoughts over that?
I think that as I said before, it helps to speed up everything. And since the first introduction of the internet, the HTML protocol, TCP/IP, it was just replicating the things that we physically do. It's just sending packages between two different locations and sending and receiving instructions. Before it would take us like literally human, running between two locations and sending the person from Ho Chi Minh to San Francisco is quite challenging. It can take weeks, and the person in the end may never arrive to the destination. Then we had letters and postmen, and then we had telegraph, and then we had television, and now we have computers. So I would say that this infrastructure helps to speed up things and make less losses on the way as well. Sometimes you can do things very fast, but it can be lost. Technology also helps to preserve the state of the information, and in business, information is everything. If you can effectively exchange information, preserve integrity of the information, and secure the information, you can run business effectively. And opposite, if you cannot do that, the business will struggle.
Yes, you're right about this. And also technology has become more affordable, which is even better, right? It's not a challenge as used to be decades ago.
I think that affordability of technology is a huge other topic. If we compare the technology that we used, let's say 10 years ago, that was introduced 10 years ago, now it's much more affordable. So there is this curve where we have early adopters. Early adopters pay the most. And then there is mass market, and typically mass market, the technology becomes more affordable. And then you have the late market stage where basically anyone can afford the thing. And that's why, for example, a lot of like people of older generation prefer to use button phones because they are cheap, reliable, and there is technology that like very advanced technology, let's say like VR headsets. They are still quite expensive and not very affordable. And then quantum computers, there is just handful of companies on the planet that can afford to build and operate it. So I would say early stage technology is always very expensive, but later on, when we learn how to optimize it, it becomes more affordable.
That's right. And how do you contribute to your community or society?
uh, okay, that's a very hard question. I share the belief that we are born without any mission. Well, maybe there was some mission our parents have planned for us, but you know that it really depends. It depends on how well they program you, and as most programming, it's hard to avoid unexpected behaviors. So it's up to us to figure our path forward. And I believe that my mission is to help talented people to deploy their potential and help them excel in their work. In the past, I have tried very different professions, and never thought, even 15 years ago, that my core profession will be HR at some point, or people leadership and things like this. It's just all the things that I experienced starting like my first attempts to write the code at the age of 11, and then gaining access, breaking into my ISP, and trying different things in commercial and marketing and design, in product management, project management. I realized that one of the biggest critical factors is people management. There are a lot of people leaders, people managers, but there are not many HRs. And I'm talking about HR experts, not people who just HR for the sake of HR. You know, there are people who go university and they don't know what to do next, so they just pick the first profession, they start working and just continue working, not really considering other opportunities. So my choice for HR was conscious choice because I have seen that first, there is literally not enough HR experts. Second was that a lot of HR experts felt lost, and they didn't feel that business really incorporates their work into strategy, into planning, and a lot of them didn't have a voice. And by the time that I went full HR, it was 2000, let's say 2013, 14, because I was co-founder of the biggest job sites in Russia. We have been serving back then big tech like Google, Nvidia, Microsoft, LG, Samsung, and so on, like all of the big tech companies, because a lot of them before 2015, since early, like let's say late 90s, early 2000s, they entered Russian market for developers, for engineers, both software and hardware. Russia had a lot of talented engineers, and there were a lot of big development centers. So my company, where I was co-founder, we have been serving all those tech companies, and the biggest challenge was to identify the right talent in Russian market. You have to understand how to target the right group, how to attract them, how to integrate them in the company, effectively onboard them. Because when international MNC enters the new market, you have to localize a lot of things, and we have been helping them to localize it. And then we need to make sure that local HR teams can expand the MNC culture to the new market, be it Russia or Ukraine. And it was quite challenging. So I was moving more from business side to advisory HR side. And then when 2015 happened and all of the companies exited Russian market, I realized that, yeah, this is the time for me to leave as well, because I didn't agree with the situation, how it was handled between countries. So I was deciding between West and East. I decided to go to the East. And it's very hard to go to the new market as commercial marketing. So I decided to focus on HR topic because I had edge in understanding how to build effective teams, how to run effective processes, how to acquire talent, nurture, train talent, how to build effective organization culture that motivates employees, how to make people bond together rather than uh, have groups that have tribal mindset and fight with each other and so on. And then how to develop talent, how to have high potential programs, performance management, effective compensation, and so on. So yeah, I think that my contribution to the society and profession is what drives me. It's my personal mission. I don't think that there is like universal answer to people how to find one. I think that you have to just to try, and the more you focus on finding the right one that works for you, the more you will figure out which one works, which one doesn't.
You mean more trial and error?
Yeah, correct.
And what does aging mean to you?
That's a really good question. I like to believe that I'm aging like a fine wine, not as a bottle of milk. There are two parts to aging. There is a physical and mental, and I think that they are both connected. We cannot separate them. I think that I wouldn't say that I feel aging. I feel there is certain sense of maturity for the physical. I think until a certain point, you just feel that you're invincible. And just if you have any injury, if you just have like any broken bone, things heal quite fast when you're young. But then when the first hairs start to fall off in 25, you start thinking like, so there is some factor to that. And then some people start looking into their bad habits and so on. I think that it's very important to have a healthy body because mind really depends on healthy body. And there is a joke that people in post-Soviet Union, like Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, and Kazakhstan, and other countries of Soviet Union, they stopped drinking at age of 18. Yeah, it's there are a lot of bad habits that are quite common in my homeland, but I did my best to early avoid those harmful habits. Now, of course, I've been drinking alcohol and had been smoking, but recently, like I think for the last 12 months, I almost don't drink except like business necessary activities. So I don't drink recreationally, and I got hold of my smoking habit to maintain more healthy habits such as working out and doing at least 10,000 steps a day. As for mental one, as we discussed before, the burnout becomes real challenge because there are some things that we can control and there are some things we cannot. Some things don't depend on us, such as like COVID or uh, political situation that surrounds us, as 2014-15 uh, caused a lot of people to leave their homeland, be it Ukraine or Russia. uh, and those things put a mental strain on people, and then inflation and job availability and necessity for taking care of the family. This is all these things have negative impact on the mental health. Some healthy body will help you to mm, maintain healthy mind, but I also think that being self-conscious and mindful really helps to direct yourself long term towards sustainable life, and sustainable life is both physical and mental.
Yes, is understandable. And considering the stress level that you possibly pass through, and also consider that you are a very active and energetic person, how do you handle periods of stress or burnout at work?
Yeah, I think that over so many years of work, I think I have been stressed out infinite number of times. And I think that for different people, there are different things that work for them. Um, the thing that really works for me, if we talk about stress at work, like peak stress, when things really don't go well and your expectations are not being met and so on. If you have a peak stress, the best way is just to have a walk and avoid any escalation of the stress. Avoid arguing with people, avoid mm, trying to resolve the problem immediately because it's very hard. You're hyperventilating. You have a million thoughts that are going through your head. Having a walk really helps to have some breathing room and organize your thoughts. If to talk about long-term stress, I joke that a lot of people when they are getting long-term stress, they start drinking and fall into the bad habits. I do the opposite. I stop drinking and having all the bad habits. I think that when you are in the crisis situation, like when things are falling apart, it's very important to mobilize all of your resources and avoid any possible distraction, stress factors. You already have enough stress. You don't want to add additional stress, such as alcohol and tobacco and other drugs. So I think that for long-term stress, it's going to be a regular gym, go and sleep on schedule, have an alarm to go sleep, have an alarm to wake up, starting to eat healthier. Because if people are in distress, they lose the job and they start, let's say, like having harmful hobbies, it's going to be impossible to find a new job. Person will feel themselves really bad. It's very like I remember when I was young and I go for one interview and it was complete mess because I felt really bad and I really felt that I at that point of time, I think I was 22, I felt like I felt and looked desperate, and no employer wants to hire a desperate person. Employers want people who are energetic, positive, motivated, healthy, so that they can produce value for the company.
Yes, and the stress, as you mentioned, they affect us in different ways. And the way that you find to handle is really good because it's very constructive and also positive. I understand that some people they go to alcohol or smoke or even coffee. That is a way to increase the focus. However, is not less longing, right?
Yeah, it's so like I would say that all of these things are kind of drugs. It's like they are modifiers for your mental and physical condition. Some things will help you to calm down short term, but every time you're taking modifiers, they improve one thing and they decrease another thing. There is always a negative consequence. Any modifier will have a positive and negative consequence. People oftentimes don't think about this. For example, ibuprofen, the painkiller, has very low number of negative side effects, but it's very important to know them. And for example, one is like you can have skin inflammation, so you can have acne. And knowing this, some people take ibuprofen, they have acne, like different reactions, right? It's very important to consider those factors. For example, I'm addicted to caffeine because I'm really focused on producing value, and I'm much more productive with caffeine than without caffeine. I think during my vacations I take less but during my peak periods, I need caffeine to produce the value that I want to produce. And it has almost no negative consequences for me because like it really works for me. There is not many negative ones.
I see. When I was younger, I used to go after caffeine and coffee. I didn't realize that was that bad for me until one day when I start to feel that, I was quite often upset. And that was a side effect of the caffeine on me. So since that time, I had stopped it. And I go for other things, as you said, go for a walk, go for something else that will distract you. And you may have some fun as well, right? Maybe play
Yeah,
some video
correct.
game.
Yeah, video games is also an addiction, right? Like uh, the, all the things that capture us, like the moment that you feel that the activity takes hold of you, that you need it, it's kind of addiction. And I think that it doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad, but it's very important to realize this because I'm a huge fan of video games industry, like from all the benefits such as it's very creative, it helps to educate people, uh, it helps to inspire people and um, help people to be more creative, and there's like beautiful graphics, beautiful music, and so on. But if you play video games like 18 hours a day every day, your physical health starts to deteriorate, your focus starts to deteriorate, you have constant, like your body starts to produce dopamine only through video games. So if you will have withdrawals because your dopamine level will be low. So yeah, I have felt it at certain point in my life, but as many addictions that I have, the moment that I realized, okay, so video games have hold on me, so I just stop and I have to go through withdrawal, and then I can dose it much better.
Right. So as we were saying here, addiction is not about you get used or you do something. It's more about the excess of something. You are having that too much and is affecting you in a negative way.
Yeah, correct. That's why we have rehabs, because the job of the rehab is not to make you hate the source of addiction, it's just to help you to get control.
Very good. And now I have one of the most important questions I ever had, and that's for you. How do you define leadership and what makes a good leader from a person like you who had a huge experience? I mean, you had done transformation across not only whole companies, but also whole industries, which is a big deal.
And I think it's the hardest question, and there are thousands of books for hundreds of years that people write about leadership. I think personally that there is no universal formula of becoming a great leader. Otherwise, we would have that book, and everybody would read that book and become one. It's going to be like a guide. You just follow the guide, like software engineer, C++. You follow you learn all of the methods. You learn all of the uh, all of the lines, right? And you can write all of the instructions. There's I like the quote from Michael Hopf: "Hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times." This quote basically summarizes that different groups of people have different expectations from their leader. And when things are very tough, uh, the group will choose the leader that can help to deal with this tough time. But when things are amazing around you, people will look for the leader to have a good time. So I don't think that there is universally effective trait of a leader except having followers. The first thing that defines a leader is just having the followers. And I would say that a great leader has a lot of supportive followers, those that stay with the leader. Being able to attract, retain followers is basically the consequence of meeting expectations of your group and being a great leader. So that's how I understand it. I would never say that I'm a great leader. It's just impossible because only people that follow the person can say if the leader is great or not. And if we would take followers, most likely they will say that their leader is great because they're the followers. It's gonna be people that don't follow the leader that can provide alternative insights. So I think it's a very complicated question, and it really depends on the group.
I see. And I still think you are a great leader.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And as you just described it, you think we can somehow say that is part of the nature of leadership be something seasonal? I mean, as you just described it, there are times we may need this kind of leader with this kind of characteristics. And there are other times we may need a different kind of leader with different kind of characteristics. Something very similar that we see in democracies. Democracies have
Yeah,
seasons.
correct. Yeah, I got it.
You shift and change the leaders. Different than regimes, where you pretty much have that same person for a long period of time, and you may not need that characteristics anymore because, as we just talked since the beginning, things change. They change all the time, and it's up to us to adapt to it and go for it.
Correct. And my spiritual animal is the bee. You know, a lot of times people say like a great leader is the lion, and you need to be a lion and so on. But if you read about the lion, lion sleeps 20 hours a day, and the lion's pride is quite small. It's less than 20 30 lions, and there are a lot of different lions, and they are fighting with each other, they're killing each other. So I wouldn't say that it's something to strive for. But if you look at bees, they work very hard, and they work very hard not just for themselves, they work for the beehive. And one of the very interesting aspects of bees is that when the beehive grows to the certain point that they need to expand, the old bees, together with the queen, they fly away to look for the new hive, and the old hive stays for younger generation. Because I believe that it's very important to different times require different leaders, and democracy kind of tries to create this system where new generation will be able to choose the right leader for their time. However, as humans, as we are imperfect species, we can see that sometimes leaders get so drunk on power that they start to believe themselves that they are the right person for their group of people, no matter what, and that there is nobody better. And sometimes they even will surround themselves with people that will say that there is nobody better, and then it becomes kind of decaying um, rule, and eventually it will cause the major crisis because younger generation will start realizing the kids some of the things are either too conservative or their voice is not heard, and then it's going to be a crisis with a lot of pain, and I would rather avoid such situations.
Yes, the way you describe is very similar to what happened not every 20 years, it's pretty much every year because we have new generations, which is really good, and they have a different way of seeing things and they have new ideas. And we can see this as well, that is happening recently actually in the labor market, where we have the X generation, they are going to retire. We have the Y generation that is right now in the middle of this whole mess, and we have the generation Z that is getting to the market, and they have a different idea of how things supposed to work and how would be the best way to do it from now on. And we are having all of this clash. So how do you see this?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on understanding between different generations. We had so many generations on the planet, and some of these transitions are very peaceful and mindful, and some of them are wildly painful and violent. It really depends on the older generation if they are willing to share. We as humans, we are opportunistic species. We are trying to take opportunity to improve our quality of life. It's very hard to be balanced, like people talk about work-life balance, about all kind of balances, like um, financial independence, retirement early, and then physical mental health balance. avoiding burnout, those abstractions, it's very hard to have those balances. And for all the generation that has majority of the access to resources, which is obvious because they literally have more years on the planet, so they amass more resources, amass more assets. There should be a mechanism for them to transition these assets to younger generation. And I think we are in a very rare case where there are a lot of talks about this, that this will be the first generational transition where the new generation will start off worse than previous generations, that they will have so many more disadvantages that the previous generation had at their time. And the craziest part about all this is that we realize this, but there is no mechanism to fix it. And for me personally, as HR and the person who loves the history, I am extremely worried about the next 10 to 20 years, because I know historical times when it wasn't resolved and it resulted in wild amount of violence. Because there is no creature on the planet more dangerous than Homo sapiens that has nothing to lose. Even in the movies. If you watch movie Alien, it's about xenomorphs, it's about creatures that were created by highly evolved engineers that also created humans. So in the movie, it's like engineer species, they created humans and aliens and other races. So they created us like themselves, and then they realized that, okay, humans are evolving not in the right way. They decided to exterminate humans, and they created ultimate weapon, bioweapon aliens to exterminate humans and other races that go not according to the plan of engineers. And then aliens exterminate engineers. And eventually, aliens get lost, and then humans find them, and there is this conflict. And humans say this is the most dangerous species. And there's like 5 movies, and every single movie ends with humans killing aliens. So it's not aliens who is the most dangerous one. It's humans. Humans who have nothing to lose the ultimate weapon. So I think that we have to figure out boomers, millennials, Gen Xers. We have to figure out how we can help Gen Z and Gen Alpha to have their try in this life and have a positive outlook for the future. And this is what I'm doing as well. I'm mentoring younger generation. I'm going to universities. I'm doing career counseling. I'm helping people to find their path forward so that they can succeed in their life.
Thank you very much for that. As you just mentioned, the aliens, they are really good in adaptation and they spread fast. And they also are very well organized as a hive, which works in a very effective way for them. And as you said, we are the ones that get them killed.
Yeah, we exterminated them because they cannot make nuclear weapons and all kind of tools to exterminate other species.
Yes, it's very good what you had notes. I'm not sure if everyone out there had this thought before, so thank you for that. And you mentioned something on the way that I would like to talk more about it. How does work-life balance mean to you, and how do you achieve it?
I don't believe in work-life balance, and the reason why I don't believe in it is because there are so many moving factors. Balance means that you have control. Like if you have 2 weights, like you have potatoes, and then you need to measure how much they weigh. You have some uh, like steel weights that have measurement. We don't have measurement of work. We don't have measurement of life. For some people, working 10 hours a day, 6 days a week is a blessing. They love it. For some people, they work 3 hours a day and they hate it. For some people, they don't want to work at all. And for some people, having no work is a crime. Some countries consider 100% employment a requirement for the society. So meaning that you cannot be jobless. And it really depends on the situation and the person. I think that having the control over how much time you spend on your work and life is much more valuable than so-called work-life balance. I think that there is some reason why corporations are constantly talking about this. One of the reasons is that it's a competitive advantage. Not all companies can offer hybrid work. I mean, coal mining company cannot offer hybrid work for coal miner. They cannot mine coal in their home, in their apartment. And as many companies are developing their employee value proposition, they find ways to look better than their competition. So they are promoting these things.
All right. I just would like to provoke a little bit you. You just mentioned that a mining work cannot do the work from his home. I understand that. And recently, we are having new technology, and we are having drones and machines that they do need some human support. And you think this could become reality maybe someday? Maybe not in this world, but imagine that we have to mine maybe an asteroid
Yeah,
to
sure.
send.
I mean, a lot of jobs stopped existing, right? Like postman delivering snail mail. This profession kind of uh, stopped existing, got extinct. There are other jobs such as telephony admin, where the person plug in cables to connect to people. There are thousands of jobs that became obsolete, and people found new jobs. When we are born, there is no mission, and then we need to eat, we need to have shelter, we need to have a partner, we need to improve our quality of life. All of this requires work. I believe that as long as humanity exists, we will work. The format will change, the tools will change, the structures, hierarchies will change, but we will always work. There will be always things to do to have a better life.
So we can say that this is actually the balance. It may not be perfect, it may not be as we would like to. However, what we have is the balance.
People say that work-life balance is like for example, I want to work like 9 to 5 and then go home and have my hobbies. But two people will have different expectations. So work-life balance is an abstraction. I would say that work-life balance is kind of ability to control your work and life and have the one that satisfies you. But when people ask you, hey, does your company provide work-life balance? It's very hard to say. It depends what are your expectations for work-life, right?
Now it's clear, I understand that well. And how has your self-perception changed with your career progression? As you mentioned before, I would put you here as a software developer as you started around 11 years old coding yourself. Of course, before that, you was doing other stuffs with computers and also with video games. I would say not that serious. You was in the early beginning. You was learning math, alphabet, and different languages. And you have been into a C-level position. And as I counted here, maybe I'm wrong, twice, which is twice you have been a founder. And I would like to know more about your perception and the changes as you progress in your career.
Basically, at each stage of life, you want to try something. Um, Maybe not like that. At every point of time, you have to make a choice. Let's say that we have a lot of opportunities that surround us. Sometimes you go for opportunities, sometimes you skip the opportunity. Some people have high risk tolerance, so they will pick opportunities with high reward and high risk. Sometimes people try to avoid risk, so they prefer conservative career paths, companies, and so on to have a more sustainable, reliable career path. For me personally, I'm all focused on growth. Like as I said before, I really want to help high potential people to succeed in their career. It means that I am targeting fast growth industries, fast growth companies, um, top performing teams. And sometimes you don't see such thing around you, so you have to build it. And I was co-founder in Ukraine. I was co-founder for another business in Russia, and now I'm co-founder for international company, rvc.global, that we're building the easiest and fastest way to find a new job directly from employer. I was a little bit unhappy about user experience with LinkedIn. I was unhappy about the other platforms, and I realized like, okay, there's no thing that works. And I found other guys who agreed with me, and we just created this project. And right now we have 6,000 active users in our groups, and about 1.5 thousand people who are right now looking for the job using our platform. And it's very unique. There are projects similar to us, but ours actually very fast, and we really focus on velocity and speed. So basically, you can onboard in 3 minutes, and in 10 minutes you can find job that like 100% matches your skills and expectations and salary and location. And there is no such thing on other platforms. So I would say that for me, how it impacted how my self-perception impacted my career progression is just at certain point of time I have a great opportunity for growth in the corporation. I joined the corporation at the role that will benefit the corporation the most. It can be chief commercial officer, it can be chief operation officer, it can be chief people officer. It's the one where I provide maximum value. Maybe it will be HRBP. Maybe it's going to be like top 10 uh, fastest growth companies. Like, for example, Valve is not public company. It's a private company. They have the highest revenue per employee among all tech companies. Maybe they are number one on the planet for revenue per employee. They're quite small. It's like about 400, 500 people. And they don't have C-levels, like they don't have chief people officer as far as I know. And you can be HRBP there, and you may provide huge value to business and society because they are number one gaming platform. They have more than hundreds of millions of gamers using their platform. So just considering what kind of opportunity I have at certain point of time, and I just go for it to provide the value.
I understand, and you mentioned something very, very, very important here. You mentioned about companies that they are, I would say, rigid. They have different levels, they have different titles, and there are other companies that they don't quite follow it because not only about the business that they are, but it helps them to focus on what they are building, right, instead of the title. As you mentioned, Valve is one of these companies that does not have titles, I would say, not like traditional companies. You think this could bring them an edge, or you think that this is maybe the way works better for them and may not work as well for other companies in other sectors?
I think that to be really effective, you have to be small. And the hierarchy is the consequence of the size of the organization. There is a theory that one leader cannot manage effectively more than 70 people. And when there are going to be more than 70 people, there will be a second natural leader that the group will start splitting and so on. And we have seen it in top corporations. For example, Steve Jobs created a separate team for Mac, completely separate inside Apple. So there was a team that was working on Apple One and Apple Two, and then there was a separate team for Mac. And then they compete with each other. So team of Mac was a new team, and they had to make something better than original team. And original team felt that it's not fair because they are making something that makes the money. I think that both are very important. And what is much more important than the hierarchy is the ability to deliver product service that customers love. We should strive to have as simple hierarchy as possible to maintain efficiency. However, as the total number of people grows, it's harder and harder. And at a certain point, you will have the verticality because you will have leader of one product, leader of another product, and then leader of group of products. And then there are going to be new services. And then there are going to be different regions and different teams. And then you have front office, back office, operations, and logistics and supply chain, and so on. So my answer would be that the organization should be as flat as possible to deliver the value to the customer, depending on the business strategy.
Well, very good. Just something important that you're probably aware as well. When Steve Jobs did what he had done, like splitting apart, creating different teams, making them also become enemies, he was creating some kind of tug of war. In his mind, he believed that that will bring more creativity for whatever the guys were doing, which we understand is, I mean, today is surely not the way of doing anything. However, he ran that experiment and we know the outcome today. And another thing you mentioned really good as well was about natural leaders. And we have example about human societies. We can talk about clans, right? Where you have the chief of war and you have the shaman. You have two leaders and they take care of different aspects of what that group needs. One is more about defense. Another one is about healing, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
So this comes with numbers as well, or no, it doesn't come with numbers.
What do you mean with numbers?
Is inevitable.
Yes, as the organization is growing, there's a necessity to have certain leaders that take care of certain needs of the whole company. The company is a group of very different people, and the more people you have, the more variable needs you have to cover. Because originally, when you have 10 people, the needs can be harmonized and can be managed by one leader. But as the organization is growing, the list of needs also growing, the ambition is growing, the demand for innovation is growing, for change, for experience is growing, and this is where we have to add the, let's say, leaders that cover those necessary expectations.
Clear. Well, that's about complexity, right?
Yes, correct.
And let's make things a bit easier now. Let's move away from this whole complexity in organization and corporations. And I would like to know more about your thoughts on retirement.
Every time I feel quite tired, I think typically it's like 10, 11 months of grind, hard work. I think that when I will retire, I will do all the fun things that I cannot do right now for the reasons related to work. But every time I go on vacation, I keep a feeling that I'm wasting my time and I could have provided and delivered some value to my team, to the company, to customers. I have love-hate relationship with retirement, and to be honest, I don't think I will ever retire somewhere at the beach. I think that my purpose is to support and build things, to create. And when I'm, let's call it like when I'm resting, I feel that I'm not executing my mission. So yeah, I think we can have all the cool stuff without retirement. Because in my opinion, retirement means that you stop providing the value for society. You've just you accumulated assets, some savings, and then you start living for yourself. And I think that's fine. There are a lot of people who will end up like that. It's their mission. They provided their value, maybe even more value that I can provide in my life. But for me personally, I'm on this mission to provide the value, and I think that I will not retire because I don't see the end of it. Like because the ambition is so high, the goals are so big, and I don't think that 100 years is enough. And I doubt that I can live for 100 years.
I'm sure you will. We are the generation that will get in there.
And I don't think I can because, as I said before, that I need to help and build. And if I live in for myself, I don't feel that I'm comfortable. I don't feel happy. I feel that I'm wasting my time that I could have used for something much better, much more valuable.
Backing a little bit to work, what are the common misconceptions that you think people have about your role?
I think my role is one that has the most misconceptions. I think we can talk for a couple hours on this topic. I think the biggest one is that people think that they cannot trust HR and that in the company, HR is kind of on the side of the company and not on the side of the employee, which is not correct. Uh, there is some truth that the job of the HR is protect the company, but the company is the people. It means that sometimes the HR has to protect people from people. Sometimes the HR has to prevent people from hurting themselves. And sometimes HR is the person who can advise on the right course of action. It really depends case by case, also depends on the company, also depends on the HR. I mean, in ideal company, fully transparent company with all the processes, policies, systems, guidelines, with a great HR who spend and go extra mile to have a win-win outcome for individual employee and what is the best for the company as a group. In those companies, people call it amazing HR because things just work. However, I don't think such companies exist. Every single company has certain challenges, certain times when things break. And every time things break, it's very easy to finger point at the HR. If there is a disagreement about the performance review, the salary increase, the decision to promote someone, there are so many moving factors that it's very hard to be arbitrary and fair. And we are humans, same as all other employees. We HR are humans, and sometimes HRs make mistake, and sometimes HR don't have enough information to make the most effective choice of the path forward. But what I would say that in every single organization, there is no other department that considers employees' interest. I mean, if the employee from marketing has some concern about something, it's not going to be a technology team who will be focused on helping them. It's going to be HR. Because in the end, it's the job of HR to solve people issues. And I think it makes sense to work with the HR to make the win-win outcome. Sometimes employee has to be very careful and go extra mile and do the research to avoid undesirable outcome. That's why I often tell to people to talk less at their work, because anything that people say can be translated by somebody else and then converted in completely different thing after a couple of changes. So talking less and focusing on work can prevent 90% of the issues that arise in the working environment and prevent the necessity to meet HR to solve those problems.
Yes, I understand. And you just mentioned something very important. Those are company assets. And if you are using for personal way, or if you are saying something that you think you should not, you better don't. Yeah, you have other ways of doing it. You go outside, you hang out, you vent out. That's fine. But do not use the company premises for such, right?
Correct. I mean, people forget they are on the contract. It's, I mean, some companies make this mistake that they say that, like, we are one family. No, it's not one family. There is a contractual obligation. Family doesn't have contract that expires after 1 year and then you're not part of the family anymore. So we have the contract. There are conditions in the contract. There is a job description. Do the work. You can discuss with your manager extra work, overtimes. You can discuss with your manager reporting lines and so on. So focus on your work. Focus on making sure that your manager is happy with your work. Focus on your career development, and avoid all the other things that has nothing to do with your work, such as rumors, such as discussions not directly related to your task, such as gossip and using equipment that is not related to your work in any way possible in premises, not in the designed way and the designated way. So yeah, that's basically it.
What do you see and what do you believe that is the key to have a successful career, as I think you have?
Oh, it's so hard. I think that first of all, you need to understand what career you want to pursue and where you want to get. And there is a very good quote that I love. It's a very old one. It's from the game Mafia. It's like 20 years old game, and the main character says there that you have to set your to have ambitious goals, because a man that doesn't have ambitious goal may not get anything. But sometimes we set too ambitious goals and then we just fail. Those goals destroy us. So it's very important to push yourself but not break yourself. So I would say that you need to try different things to understand what works for you. And second of all, you have to set the bar high. It's much easier to realize, okay, where is your ceiling? You will find it, and then you will try to break it, and you cannot break it. But if you try one thing, after a couple of years, you may regret that you haven't tried other things. And then our time here is limited. So I recommend people to try many different things. Me, myself, I have tried, oh my God, so many things. So many different industries. My LinkedIn doesn't have all of them. My professions were in commercial business development, marketing, PR, HR, operations like procurement, corporate IT, project management, product management, customer services. And I realized like my biggest value is in people operations, HR, strategic human resources. And if I wouldn't, and it was the last one, like after all other things, if I would stop on the second or third, I would never find my, let's call it ikigai. People often call it ikigai. The thing that you get money for, the thing that you love to do, that thing is in demand, and the fourth one I don't clearly remember. But the second thing is like how high you can get. And I pushed myself to get to the C-level to be able to provide maximum value, because the difference between lowest level professional and the highest level professional is that you start to help other professionals to become better. And at a certain point, you impact the whole organization bottom line, the revenue, profitability of the company through your function. As you said before, you said that should the organization have all those C-levels, all those necessary leaders like shamans and warlords? At my level, when you're a chief people officer, my job is not just to make sure that all of the HR things are working, but it's to make sure that organization efficiency, productivity, operating expenses are lower, efficiency, productivity is higher, the revenue is higher, and the profit margin is higher. And you can achieve it by effective performance management, effective rewards, motivation programs, training, acquiring the right talent for the right price, and so on and so on.
Yes, it's amazing what you just said. It's really amazing. Thank you for that. Now, Alex, I'm gonna ask about your final thoughts. Once I ask that, is it cool for you to use 5, 10, 15 minutes, whatever you want to advertise and talk more about your product or service whenever you want to. You have that time, okay?
I wouldn't advertise it per se. I would rather say that right now, a lot of people got into like, I never saw the problem that doesn't exist, because like people oftentimes think that it's impossible for them to make world better. Everybody can make this world better, starting from the smile in the morning to some random person on the street.
Mm-hmm.
We are all so connected. There is a butterfly effect. A smallest action of gratitude, recognition, demonstration of respect and care can be the ROI can be 10x, 100x, 1000x. People have good memory. People remember good things. People remember bad things.
Alex, was very good talk to you here, and I learned a lot from you, and I'm sure that the people listening to us as well, they are, amazed with everything that you had done and you had shared as well. Do you have final thoughts?
So basically, people have their short time here, and I really wanted to build something that will solve the pain of the complication of job search that risen together with COVID. So there are three big challenges. First one, we are in the age where the full-time job becomes something outdated. we're entering gig economy. Actually, we entered gig economy probably 10 years ago, where most of the employees have short-term contracts. Actually, even though employers really look how long person worked before, like they are looking like we want to hire somebody who worked in their previous company for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, but they're not signing the first contract for that duration. They are signing contract for 1 year, and sometimes the probation is 3 months. So the company have these unrealistic expectations that they want to hire somebody with 3, 4, 5 years experience in one company, but at the same time they're hiring people for 1 year and with ability to lay them off to optimize the cost. So this first reality is that we are in the economy that is very short term. Employees worry that they cannot stay in the company longer than 1 year. Employers are fine to terminate employment after 1 year. The second challenge is that the complexity of jobs themselves is through the roof. Let's say during the industrialization, you needed to have 2, 3, 4 skills to effectively execute your work. Majority of the work was blue collar. You had to assemble, you have to check things using instruction, you have to follow the guideline, or you have to write the guideline. There were guidelines how to write guidelines.
And you could learn by watching or by doing it.
Yeah, the training was very simple and basic. And then we entered the, let's call it, computer society. And all the time before computer society, you can see how things move. All the mechanics, all the cogs, you can see it. With computer society, we cannot see because it's electrons, because it's bits of information, we cannot see them. So we become theoretical generation, and jobs become heavily theoretical as well. This creates the pressure where you have to have practical skills and theoretical knowledge and problem solving, critical thinking, identifying the root cause and writing the proposal, doing the research. I see jobs for junior specialists to do strategy research. I mean, before it was the job for master's degree and PhD. And now people from college are required to do that kind of responsibility. So the complexities of basic jobs increased a lot. Third thing is the globalization. Before, people born in one city, raised in one city, find a job in the city, retire in the city. Now we live in the world where everything is fluid, everything is connected. You can be born in, like me, in rural city with like 30,000 people population with no technology, and by the time you go to high school, you can get laptop and then you get access to the whole world economy, to everything. You can get access to trading platforms, you can write code, you can uh, create art, write music, you can become famous from zero. You have access to all those great things. And then the cost of transportation decreased, the speed of transportation increased, the ability to find place where you can stay is wildly easy now, like Airbnbs and Facebook groups. It's much easier to relocate nowadays. So those three things, the first thing is the gig economy, the second thing is the job complexity, and third thing is the globalization, change the way how people look for the job. And there is no, I would say there is no, there was no convenient tool to incorporate all those challenges into one thing, that you can upload your CV, then your CV is getting analyzed with 12 filters for your skills, competencies, your focused career path, salary range, countries or regions for location, and then get jobs specifically from there directly from employer. Because when you apply on job sites, typically you have multiple brokers, multiple middle people between your application and the company. First, it's the job site. So job site receives your application, which may be late. Maybe there is already 30 people before you. Then the HR has to go to that platform or find an email with notification that you applied. And typically it's like 50 people applied, so you get 50 notifications. It's very hard to be unique in that list. Then HR has to go to that platform, let's say LinkedIn, and select you, download your resume, upload your resume into the applicant tracking system. It's like a complicated process. So what we have done is that we built very easy onboarding. You onboard in 3 minutes. Your application goes directly to employer. So we are not holding your application. You apply on their website. We just parse their jobs and you receive notifications, and only for the jobs that fit you. For some people, it's remote jobs. For some people, it's relocation. For some people, it's in their hometown. But it's really convenient, and we have a lot of positive testimonials that it's a really convenient way to find a new job, and there is nothing better on the market. Thank you for having me, for this opportunity to share with your subscribers my experience. I hope it will really help them. And to extend this help, if you are open for career opportunities, if you're interested to have your career development next step, to have it exciting, you can go to rvc.global and register on our website. And it's free of charge, no hidden cost, and you can find our contacts directly there, so you can provide feedback and help us improve our platform. Thank you.